today. The High Court said, yes, James Cook University did have every right to sack a professor who tried to stand against this warming hysteria. This is so shocking. It makes me really frightened for the future of this country. James Cook University sacked Professor Peter Ridd. He's a marine physicist. After he said here on Sky News in 2017 that some of his colleagues could not be trusted when they said that global warming was destroying the Great Barrier Reef.
The problem is that we can no longer trust the scientific organisations like the Australian Institute of Marine Science, even things like the ARC Centre of Excellence for Coral Reef Studies. A lot of this stuff is coming out, which the science is coming out not properly checked, tested or replicated. And this is a great shame because we really need to be able to trust our scientific institutions. And the fact is I do not think we can anymore. I think that most of the scientists who are pushing out this stuff, they genuinely believe that there are problems with the reef. I just don't think they're very objective about the science they do. I think they're emotionally attached.
Now, to be fair, the High Court today said the university was actually wrong to censure Peter Ridd for saying what you just heard. And that's good because an academic should be able to debate the science. And Ridd, by the way, was actually right about his colleagues. The latest report by the Australian Institute of Marine Science shows around record coral cover now on the reef. So you would think that James Cook University should be more worried by the academics who were wrong than by Ridd, who was right. Yet it went for Ridd's throat. It censured him for being rude about his colleagues and tried to punish him in secret. Now, under his employment contract, he was not allowed to tell anyone what it was doing to get him to shut up. But Ridd refused to go quietly, and that is why the High Court today still said the university was justified in sacking him. It found Rudd broke the university rules by, for instance, telling journalists of his secret show trial. And he even broke the rules by, get this, communicating to a student in a manner that satirised or parodied what the university was doing to punish him. He shouldn't have laughed at it. Can you believe that? So put it like this. Peter Ridd could publicly question, and correctly, the dodgy science, but he could not publicly question the university's secret attempt to punish him for doing that. And so he's sacked. Peter Ridd joins me now. Peter, I can't tell you how wild I am about this decision. This is just so shocking to me, but how are you taking it?
Oh, okay. Good will come out of this, I'm quite sure, because, I mean, there are aspects of this which you just mentioned which are really particularly strange. The university can actually be wrong in censuring me, but then I'm not allowed to tell anybody that they've done this to me. But I think that what will happen now is that there's going to have to be intervention at the Commonwealth government level. They've already introduced legislation to bolster up academic freedom of speech. I've been saying for a long time these confidentiality provisions are absolutely Stasi-like in terms of their restricting freedom of speech. And so things are going to have to be written and forced to be written into the academics' work contracts to really clarify this. It's the only way that we're going to be able to sort this out. So I'm essentially saying to the Commonwealth and the state governments, they're going to have to look at this. And it's not just people on the climate change reef things. I've been contacted by a few academics too on some very contentious sort of recent issues who are right now having their freedom of speech curtailed, but they're not allowed to talk about it. And this ruling will make it that they absolutely can't say anything.
Well, you see, I think you're absolutely right to change the focus, put the responsibility on the Commonwealth government, which I think has been not pushing this hard enough, and on the states. The High Court could only really interpret the law as it is, and these guys have got to change the law, these governments. Now, what frightens me here is that despite that, effectively, as you say, you've got a right to free speech on your area of expertise, but if the university punishes you for it, so effectively you are silenced because you can't tell anyone, and so you've got to take the medicine quietly. Can you tell me why you didn't stay quiet? Because that's indeed what the High Court has seized on.
Because in the end, I just was sick and tired of being told what I was or was not allowed to say. And I knew I was taking a risk on that confidentiality, but it just had to be done. There was just no choice. I couldn't live with myself and just shut up, which is what I would have had to have done.
And how much has this fight cost you so far?
Us personally, $300,000. I got $1.5 million worth of contributions from over 10,000 people, which I feel bad about that we've lost. But, it just shows the depth of feeling about freedom of speech generally. People really care about it, and not just people who watch Sky News. It's quite remarkable the level of support and that I've got for this, that people really think this is important. Anyway, we'll see how we go.
Well, we shall see. Honestly, Peter, and to think, on that specific issue, you're actually right as well. This is what really destroys me. You can be right and you can still be sacked. And the university, it's scandalous what they've done to you and to Professor Bob Carter before you. Honestly, Peter, you sometimes wonder where this country is going.
Yeah, you do. I mean, one of the other perplexing thing about this was that they've made it very strict what you can actually say and classify as academic freedom of speech. So the comments that I made in an email essentially saying that all universities were Orwellian in nature and pretended to value free speech but don't, they seem to say that that was also a sackable offence because it wasn't in my area of expertise. So this is another area where, universities are going to have to be able to say that an academic can actually talk about just about anything. Otherwise, you can read somebody's email and eventually find something you don't like and, that's not in your area of expertise, and you're gone.
Peter, if there's anyone that's now totally expert in Orwellian moves against free speech, it is in fact you. And you've learnt that expertise the hard way, not from some damn text, but on your skin. I mean, Peter Ridd, I've really admired your courage in fighting this. The cost, in stress, the money, the whole thing. I still think you've done tremendous work in doing that. You're a wonderful example of how far people should be prepared to go to defend these things. And we wouldn't be in this shtuck if there weren't more people, if there were so few people that were dodging exactly that fight. Peter Ridd, thank you so much for your time.